the principles of the original founding fathers of America still relevant today? Some may say yes, and others may say no. This video essay argues the positive and explains why the United States should align more with two specific founding principles. These principles applied to America's dealings in the past and continue to be necessary today. The U.S. should follow a policy of neutrality and non-interventionism, focusing on improving internal affairs before becoming involved in foreign politics. To define the two policies mentioned, non-interventionism is a country choosing to not intervene with the politics or wars of other countries. Neutrality is keeping relations with other countries neither favorable or hateful, and remaining neutral on the worldwide political scale and during conflicts. So why do these two policies apply? The Founding Fathers' principles apply because of the negative effects of conflict. Involvement with foreign affairs damages the United States and creates unnecessary problems. There is one particular example of the U.S. involving themselves in foreign conflicts that demonstrates the negative effects of an interventionist policy. This example is the Vietnam War. The U.S. involved themselves with this conflict based on the domino theory of communism. The U.S. government believed that if Vietnam fell to communism, then other countries would be toppled by it in a wave of communism. Communism was a real threat, but the domino effect has since been discredited as it did not consider the character and strength of the countries threatened. The domino theory was a major player in why the U.S. declared war on North Vietnam, and in hindsight, we see that the goal of this involvement was not successful. While the U.S. wanted to get involved in this conflict, there are reasons as to why it should not have. The estimated money spent on the Vietnam conflict by the United States was $176 billion, pushing the United States further into national debt. The elevated government spending resulted in raised inflation between 1965 and the early 1970s. Even if the U.S. had successfully kept South Vietnam from communism, the financial devastation that interventionism caused shows that the United States should not have involved themselves in the first place. To contrast the negativity of the Vietnam War, there are positive examples of how holding to a neutral policy has helped America grow. In 1793, France and Britain were in the midst of a conflict between them. The United States felt pressure from both sides to align with them. However, the new nation of the U.S. chose to remain neutral due to George Washington's neutrality proclamation. Quote, "Whereas it appears that a state of war exists between Austria, Prussia, Sardinia, Great Britain, and the United Netherlands of the one part, and France on the other, and the duty and interest of the United States require that they should with sincerity and good faith adopt and pursue a conduct friendly and impartial towards the belligerent powers." Unquote. If the United States had become involved, the nation would not have gotten the chance to grow and nurture its economy by focusing on internal affairs. It would have been financially depleted by the conflict and could possibly have never gotten the opportunity to become the global superpower it is today. Even though the nation has changed and grown since this time, it is clear the U.S. should return to a policy of non-interventionism and neutrality. These policies should be applied in the current Ukraine-Russia conflict. The United States recently sent $60.8 billion of military aid to Ukraine. The resulting inflation after Vietnam and the current $34 trillion national debt of the U.S. are both signs that the United States needs to return to more of a non-interventionist policy. If the United States continues to spend more money on this conflict, the debt could greatly damage the economy. A similar current example to this is the Taiwan-China conflict. Taiwan wants to be independent from China, but China believes Taiwan to be a breakaway province and wishes to reconnect the nations together. U.S. involvement in this is unnecessary and dangerous in regards to national debt. Financially supporting these two separate conflicts at once is going to cause tension with the opposition, China and Russia, and deplete the U.S. financially. While the United States may be powerful, it is unable to sustain foreign aid to both Taiwan and Ukraine. The U.S. needs to return its attention inward and work on the internal problems the U.S. is facing. However, Some may disagree with the thesis of this essay. A counter-argument could be that the US has grown as a global superpower due to conflict. However, this can be disproven by looking back to the Vietnam War. While some conflicts have promoted the US on a global scale, the effects within the country are negative. The inflation caused by the Vietnam conflict is an example of this. The United States suffered due to the foreign involvement, which is demonstrative of the fact that the US has strayed too far from neutrality and non-interventionism. In conclusion, it is much more essential for the US to remain neutral and non-interventionist on the global political scale at this point in time than to aid with foreign conflicts. For the sake of the United States and its people, the country should return to the original principles of the Founding Fathers. The principles that raised the United States from a small nation to a powerful global superpower should not be ignored or left behind.